At 30,000 feet, flight attendant Sarah heard the words every crew member dreads. We need help. An elderly passenger was having a heart attack. But when Sarah saved his life, she discovered a shocking truth. The man she just rescued was the father who abandoned her 30 years ago. Sarah Mitchell was a 34-year-old experienced flight attendant who had been working for United Airlines for 15 years. She had encountered thousands of passengers on routine flights from Chicago to Los Angeles. The trauma she experienced from her father's abandonment as a child had made her a stronger and more independent woman. Sarah's father, David Mitchell, had left her when she was 4 years old. One day, he left home and never returned. Her mother Linda had raised Sarah alone and never spoke about her father. Sarah didn't know who her father was, where he lived, or even if he was still alive. This trauma had shaped Sarah's career. Helping people, making them feel safe was her passion. Becoming a flight attendant was no coincidence. Being there for passengers in their difficult moments, supporting them, gave Sarah meaning. March 15th, 2024, Tuesday, Sarah was assigned to UA Flight 447 from Chicago O'Hare to Los Angeles. It was a routine 3-hour flight. There were 180 passengers on the plane. While Sarah was doing pre-flight safety checks, she noticed the elderly man in seat 14A. He was about 65 years old, gray-haired, well-dressed passenger. He looked a bit pale but didn't seem to have any special condition. When the flight began, Sarah explained safety instructions to passengers. The elderly man was listening carefully. He smiled at Sarah and gave a polite greeting. "Is this your first time flying?" Sarah asked, noticing the man seemed a bit nervous. "No, but flights have been tiring me lately," the man said in a calm voice. Sarah felt there was something familiar about the man's voice, but couldn't figure out what it was. The first hour of the flight passed without problems. Sarah was doing her routine service duties. About 90 minutes after takeoff, the plane was cruising at 30,000 feet. Just then, a voice came from seat 14A. "Help!" Sarah turned quickly. The elderly man had leaned forward in his seat, struggling to breathe. His face was contorted, his left hand pressed against his chest. "Sir, what's happening?" Sarah asked, immediately rushing to his side. "In my chest. Very severe pain," the man said with difficulty. Sarah's 15 years of experience kicked in. The symptoms were classic heart attack signs. She had to act without wasting time. "Notify the captain and other crew," Sarah shouted to her colleagues. "Medical emergency." Sarah positioned the man comfortably in his seat. She checked his breathing, looked at his pulse. His pulse was weak and irregular. "What's your name?" she asked, checking the man's consciousness. "David. David Mitchell," the man said with difficulty. Sarah's heart stopped for a moment. David Mitchell. This name sounded very familiar, but she couldn't focus on that right now. "David, try to stay calm. I'm helping you," Sarah said, her professional training taking over. Captain Robert Johnson made an announcement over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a medical emergency on board. Is there a doctor on the plane?" Fortunately, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, sitting in seat 23C, stood up. She was a cardiologist. Dr. Walsh examined the patient. "Acute myocardial infarction. Heart attack," she told Sarah. "We need to start CPR immediately." Sarah and Dr. Walsh moved David to the aisle. Sarah began CPR, which she had performed hundreds of times in her 15-year experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She counted while performing chest compressions. Dr. Walsh was also monitoring the heart rhythm. "No pulse," the doctor said. "Continue, Sarah." Sarah performed mouth-to-mouth resuscitation while looking at David's face. There was something about the man's face, something very familiar. "Come back, David," Sarah murmured. "Don't leave me." Sarah was surprised when these words came out of her mouth. Why had she said that? CPR continued for about 8 minutes. Finally, David's pulse returned. He slowly opened his eyes. "Thank you," David said, looking into Sarah's eyes. In that look, Sarah saw something familiar. A look she had seen a long time ago, when she was very young. Dr. Walsh stabilized David's condition. "He needs to be hospitalized immediately," she said. Captain Johnson requested permission for emergency landing at the Los Angeles airport. The plane landed 45 minutes earlier than planned. The ambulance was waiting for the aircraft. Sarah accompanied David to the ambulance. "Can I come with you?" Sarah asked, not even knowing why she was asking. "You're a crew member. You need to file a report," the paramedic said. But David held Sarah's hand. "Please come," he said. "You saved my life." Sarah got permission from her captain and went to the hospital with David. At Cedars-Sinai Hospital, David was taken to cardiology, intensive care. Sarah sat in the family waiting room. Dr. Martinez, David's doctor, explained the situation to Sarah. "He had a major heart attack, but thanks to your intervention, he's alive. A few minutes later, and we would have lost him." Sarah was relieved. She had saved David's life. "Are you a family member?" the doctor asked. "No, just, I'm the flight attendant who saved him." "I see. He wants to see you." When Sarah entered David's room, the man was awake. Monitors were showing his heart rhythm. "Sarah," David said, "thank you. You brought me back to life." Sarah sat in the chair. "It was my duty, but I want to ask you something." "Of course." "Your name is David Mitchell, right?" "Yes." "Well, did you live in Chicago before?" Surprise appeared on David's face. "Yes, a long time ago." Sarah's heart began beating rapidly. 30 years ago. Did you have a daughter?" David's face went white. Are you Sarah?" "Yes, Sarah Mitchell. Your daughter." They both looked at each other for a long time. After 30 years, they had reunited on a plane during a life and death struggle. "Oh my God," David said, his eyes filling with tears. "You're my little Sarah." Sarah started crying. "Why did you leave? Why did you abandon me?" Tears were flowing from David's eyes. "Because I was a very young and stupid man. I was scared. I was afraid to take responsibility." "I wondered about you for 30 years, Sarah said. "Where you were, whether you were alive. I thought about you every day too. But I didn't have the courage to find you." Sarah held David's hand. "Now I found you. I saved you." "No, Sarah, you saved me 30 years ago too, because staying away from you was killing me every day." David told Sarah what he had done over the long years. He had moved to Los Angeles, started a construction company, became successful. But he had always searched for Sarah, couldn't find her. "I tried to contact your mother, but she always closed the doors on me. She was right." Sarah said her mother had never mentioned this, because she wanted to protect you. "I had already caused harm." The next day, David's condition stabilized. Sarah extended her leave to stay with her father. "How did you become a flight attendant?" David asked. "I wanted to help people, make them feel safe, just like you did for me today." Sarah smiled. "Maybe I became a flight attendant to save you." David told Sarah about his life. He had never married, had no children. He had always thought about Sarah. "I missed you so much," David said. "Every birthday, every holiday. I always wondered how you were growing up." Sarah also said she forgave her father. "They're in the past now. What matters is now." When David was discharged, Sarah took him to his home. It was a beautiful house in Malibu. "You live here?" Sarah asked. "Yes, but now this house feels very empty." Sarah saw her own childhood photo in David's house. Her father had never forgotten her. "I always carried it with me," David said. "This is my only photo of you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I searched for you too, but I could never find you. Now you found me, and now I won't disappear." In the following weeks, Sarah and David tried to make up for lost time. David was curious about Sarah's childhood stories. Sarah also wanted to learn about her father's life during these years. "Your mother is a good woman," David said. "She raised you wonderfully." Sarah introduced her mother to David. Linda resisted at first, but then saw that David had changed. "He's not the same man from 30 years ago," Sarah told her mother. "He's remorseful and transformed." 3 months later, David attended Sarah's wedding. Sarah was marrying her colleague pilot, Mike Johnson. Walking down the aisle on my father's arm was something I couldn't even dream of, Sarah said. David said this in his wedding speech. My daughter Sarah saved my life twice. Once when she was born, by giving me a reason to live. Once on the plane, when my heart stopped. Sarah was crying. Dad, you saved my life too, by helping me find the missing piece of myself. Today, Sarah and David meet regularly. David is becoming a grandfather to Sarah's children. Sarah also monitors her father's health. If I hadn't had the heart attack, I wouldn't have found you, David says. Maybe your heart needed to bring you to me, Sarah says. Sarah's story became a legend at United Airlines. How does a flight attendant save a passenger's life and then discover that passenger is her own father? Some encounters are not coincidences, Sarah says. Fate ensured our reunion, even if it was 30 years later. David sometimes flies as a passenger on flights where Sarah works. To receive my daughter's service, he says with a smile. Sarah's colleagues say, you didn't just save a life, you built a family. Being a flight attendant isn't just a job, Sarah says. Sometimes we also have the duty to bring lives together. David's heart is now healthy, but the greatest healing was reuniting with his daughter. If I had died on the plane that day, I would have left without making peace with Sarah, David says, but God gave me a second chance. Sarah says, maybe I chose this profession to save you. It's never too late to be father and daughter. They both now know that love doesn't disappear over time. Even after 30 years, the father-daughter bond can remain equally strong. And Sarah thinks every flight, looking at her passengers, I wonder whose life I'll save today. And maybe that person will also save my life.